Okay, I believe we can proceed. We'll call the meeting to order, and I believe, can we get a roll call?
Clenny,
Here.
Lemons,
Here.
Pantera, here, Rush,
Here.
Magnuson,
Here.
5 board members present, none absent.
Okay, this is a great day. We're up to full staffing on the Board of Trustees now. We have 2 new members. Thought maybe we could all introduce ourselves briefly because we haven't met before. My name is Phil Maclean. I'm the acting chair at the moment, given Tonia's departure. I've been here for 3 years now, I believe, and 1 more year because I think I joined, the seat had been open a little bit when I joined. My mother was a librarian, and so I've watched libraries for a long time. And I'm just here because I believe in libraries. Somebody once suggested that libraries could be the center for the community for lifelong learning. And I think that's a great way to look at it. So, Brian?
I'm Brian Clenny. I've been on the board for almost a year, and I feel like I'm just getting through the learning process. So any new board members, I'm happy to answer questions you may have when you don't feel like it's a good enough question to ask Jessica.
You can always ask me a question. Sorry to interrupt.
You can ask librarians any
Nicole, you want to?
Sure. My name is Nicole Pantera. I joined at the same time as Brian, so coming up on a year pretty soon here. I was born and raised in Boise and have always loved the library, and I echo Phil's center of lifelong learning, and that's also why I'm here.
So, Rebecca?
Yeah, hi, everyone. Nice to meet you all. My name is Rebecca Lemons. By day, I'm the Director of Community Health and Wellbeing for the St. Alphonsus Health System, so very engaged in community partnerships, connections, and advocacy. And that's a large reason why I wanted to join the Boise Public Library Board, because I wanted to bring the relationships and partnership opportunities that I've experienced in the community to this organization. But most interestingly, my very first job ever at the age of 15 was working here at the downtown library for 2 years. I was an adult services page, so I worked on the 2nd and 3rd floors. Still smells the same, which is cool and weird at the same time. So it's like coming home, and I'm a mom to 2 kids, and we spend a lot of time at the library. I'm listening to 3 audiobooks on Libby right now. So I'm very excited to be here and bring whatever resources I have to this great organization.
Thank you. Natasha?
Well, I wish I could be there in person. I've been traveling a lot this summer. So I'm glad that I have the virtual option though. So my name's Natasha Rush. I've been on the board for 13 days now, I believe. And that's about it. And then by day, I am the head librarian at Boise High School, just down the road from you guys. And I've kind of grown up in libraries. So my mom was a single mom. Libraries were free and also air conditioned, if I'm being honest. My childhood home growing up did not have air conditioning. So I grew up going to the Lewiston Public Library, which is where I'm from. And then I kind of just fell in love with books and reading and all those things and got my English teaching degree. And I taught for a while and then decided that I did not want to grade papers for the rest of my life. So I thought that maybe I could jump into the library world and still work with kids, work with the community without having to grade those papers. So basically I've landed the most perfect of all jobs. I love being a school librarian, and I'm really looking forward. I'm hoping to kind of mixing the 2 worlds. I think that there's a lot that the schools are unaware of that the public library has. So I'm just looking at being able to marry the 2, hopefully. And I am a librarian. I'm not a public librarian, but a school librarian. So we're the same, but maybe a little bit different. But I know libraries and I love libraries. So I'm in.
Well, thank you all and welcome to our 2 new members. It's great to have you here. And just looking forward to being up to full strength and having everybody's perspective. I think it'll be great. On a little bit of a sad note, Sonia Galvez has been a board member here and is unfortunately leaving our group. Sonia has been a tremendous advocate for inclusion and many communities in the library sphere. So we're going to miss you, Sonia, and we really appreciate the perspective you brought to us all.
Thank you very much. It is for sure hard to leave this space. I joined right around the same time as you, Phil. And so, yeah, being a citizen of Garden City now, I know that I need to allow a spot for a Boisean. And I'm so thrilled that my dear friend Natasha is taking that seat. She's a hustler. Strap in, y'all. Like, she's really good. She will push thinking in a great way. And I've watched her advocate for kids and for vulnerable populations and for what is right by schools, by way of libraries, and that advocacy that's needed. So it's going to be exciting to watch her be on the board, but I will miss you all. But as you know, with the legislative seat that I am going for, you will continue to have an ally and advocate in me. And I hope I remain on Jessica's speed dial as we work together, just in a different capacity down the road. So thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. We really appreciate all your time and energy.
Yeah, Sonia, and on behalf of all the staff, we really want to thank you because of the support you provided us. And yes, you are still on my speed dial. We've already connected on some summer STEAM learning. So you have not gone far. Maybe geographically a little too far, but you're certainly going to be part of the work and art impact to come. Thank you.
Thank you. So our next topic is, we're very honored to have our Mayor Maclean here, who's going to say a few words and share some things with us.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. I want to first start by thanking Sonia. Sonia, thanks for your service. It is really too bad that you've had to step down. I'm so glad and grateful to Natasha for being willing to fill the seat. But this is yet another reason now that I have to want to have Garden City be part of our own city, which I joke to the mayor of Garden City often whenever I'm over there. I text John, I'm like, I'm in your city, I'm having too much fun, beware. And so we have this running joke about whether or not Boise could annex Garden City and take the Great River wine and arts with it. And now I'll add Sonia to the list. But really appreciate all that you do for kids, for our schools, for our city, and have been doing for our library. So thank you. I just wanted to come. I actually just wrapped up a conversation. Oh, and I should apologize. My eye is fine now. So when I walked into this room, I think I was like frowning at people and I really couldn't see. And now it's okay. So hello, I can see your face. I can see your face. I don't know what happened. It was a little weird. I had just wrapped up a conversation with Luis Pereira about the strategic plan. And so I thought I'd just talk about the importance that the library here and the library system and library staff, frankly, have in meeting our goals as a city of ensuring that we're truly creating a place for everyone. And I want to thank the staff for under and with Jessica's leadership in the last 2 years in particular, all that's been done, all that's been provided. And I think so remarkably, all that's been willing to have been tried. Like, our staff is on a daily basis, seeing the need, innovating to meet the need, and then building around that innovation. So in the long run, we can continue to serve this community. And just talking with Luis, and even frankly, talking with other mayors around the country a couple of weeks ago, we're innovating and redefining what it means to be in the service of library and the service of community. And that's noted. And I want to say I really appreciate it, as does our community as your residents. And I'm excited about this strategic planning opportunity to really drill down into what our residents love about library, what they would like to see more of, and then what they dream about in terms of what library of the future looks like. And we have an incredible opportunity. And I say all that because in the last 2 years, we've been called to respond to needs that were much deeper than we might have noted before COVID kind of laid that bare. We've tried to do that. The library staff has tried to do that and done it in remarkable ways, but it creates that opportunity for us to think about what service looks like now and into the future and how we respond to that and then develop a system that supports that service that is front and center. And that service is a big part of what we do as a city in general. So the integration of parks and recreation with library, of all of our goals around climate and education and library, social services, mental health support, housing homelessness, rental aid, and library is incredibly important. And the more we can create opportunities for that integration, the more impactful we will be in service to the residents of Boise. And I see in our staff, in our director, ready and willing partners that are incredible resources to us as well as we seek to better understand what it is our residents need. And it's your staff, your teams here at the library that are really the front lines that can help us better understand that. So appreciate that. So as we move ahead and you're looking as a board and commission at what you're hearing from residents, at what you want to see in the future, and same as staff, what you're hearing from residents and what you want to see in the future, please know that we are really excited about strengthening the links and connections between city departments and the services we provide and the library, as we are at integrating all of our departments in so many more ways. And I just see a ton of opportunity and appreciate each and every one of you who have been willing to sign up to serve on this commission, to give the time, importantly, to give the insights so we can provide more and better for Boiseans. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. It's good to see you. Appreciate you coming in.
It's great to see you all. I'm going to sneak out after, I'm going to listen for a teeny tiny bit and then sneak out so you all can work freely. But really appreciate the opportunity to be here and love the conversation that I just got to have with Louise as part of this. So thanks for that too.
Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Anything?
No, I just really appreciate you coming in and sharing your vision of having the ability to connect the library to the other parts of the city. We're, part of why we're so excited about Rebecca and Natasha joining is being able to bring in their networks as well. Because I do think we are really poised to be able to strengthen those networks and those connections because of your leadership and the ability to have impact in a new way for the community. We're just one of the things that, I'm sorry Heidi, but some of our staff listening sessions, you may not hear some of her remarks later today about the strategic planning, but when we had the staff listening sessions, that feeling of being poised for a real change and transformation is felt by the staff. So we really do feel we're in a good spot to really create what the future library looks like for us.
Okay, thank you. So our next topic is the previous meeting's minutes. If you've had a chance to review those, could we get a motion for approval?
I reviewed the minutes and feel they accurately reflect the proceedings of the June 8th meeting, and I move that we approve them as written.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So the minutes are now approved. We also have the consent agenda, which includes 2 items, and I never remember how to say it.
If you go to the agenda on page
Okay, so
1, you can read the all matters of the consent.
So we have the payment of bills and payroll. and also the financial reports, which we can move to approve together or separately.
Does the financial reports include the statistics? That's separate.
That's,
That's, you mean
that would be so.
the,
Statistics on usage and circulation. and things
That
like
would,
that.
that's,
Okay.
So is there discussion of that or a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
I would move to approve all matters on the consent agenda, including payment of bills and payroll and financial reports.
Thank you. Second,
I second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, the consent agenda is approved. Next on our agenda is that we have a few reports from our partners. So is Jill from the Friends of the Library, are you online?
I am indeed.
Hello.
Hello. So thank you very much for the new trustees. It was a pleasure to be introduced to you. My name is Jill Johnson. I'm the president of the Friends. And I look forward to meeting you as time moves on and we have the opportunity. I just wanted to sort of echo what the mayor has already said. I had a really delightful conversation with Susan Hildreth from Burke Consultants at the end of last month. And it was great just to have a conversation where she had clearly taken the time to facilitate and reach out to me to have that conversation about our partnership, which was just really great. And she was extremely generous with her time. I think we were scheduled to go for 30 minutes and I think I talked her ear off for close to an hour. So anyway, it was delightful. And I really want to thank Heidi and Jessica, as well as Susan, for making sure that that happened. I thought that was great. And then the only other thing I have to report is we are gearing up for our next sale, which will be August 18th to 21st in the main auditorium. So this is your warning to go shake your piggy banks and come on down and visit us next month for another one of our sales.
Great, look forward to it. So thank you. Next is the Library Foundation and Brian Manship.
Good morning, good afternoon. Pleasure to be here. And just for those of you who don't know me, I am Brian Manship. I'm the chair for the Boise Public Library Foundation. I've actually been on the foundation on the board for about 7 years, but I've been just about a year as the chair. And I had to miss a couple of meetings because of business trips, so I'm glad to be back. The foundation over the past couple of years really has tried to refocus a little bit because we were so focused on a new library for so long, trying to raise funds, and we were raising funds for that project, and we've had to go back and look at our mission and what we are for. We're not just about building libraries, but we're for supporting programs and the mission of the library and helping our community and educating and so forth, the library in our community. And so the one thing that has happened over the past 30 days or so is that we have had an opportunity to visit with Jessica and Josh as far with the library on the Boise Comic Arts Festival. And I'm happy to report that we have a commitment from the board, the foundation, to very actively and significantly contribute to the Boise Comic Arts Festival. I can't give you an amount right now because we still have to vote on it tomorrow in our meeting, but we are in the process of working with sponsors as well as other donors that will be contributing to the Boise Comic Arts in a significant way. And we're very happy to be actively involved in that as something that gives to the community and is something very much appreciated by the community as far as education and awareness and opportunities that it provides. So we'll know more next time. I'll be happy to report dollars next time, but in the meantime, I'm happy to report that we were well on our way to a good donation contribution to that worthwhile program, as well as the opportunity to work with other programs and help other programs for the library as they come up as well. So that's all I have for right now, but just there'll be more next month.
Well, thank you, Brian. That's great news. Looking forward to seeing that roll out. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, our next topic is the director's report from Jessica.
Thank you. I would just like to highlight a couple things, and Brian, I'll use some time for your questions about the statistics as we will make sure we get those answered. But first, I would like to thank Brian and the foundation for helping commit funding for BCAF, our Boise Comic Arts Festival. Natasha, we will follow up with you, because one of the things that the foundation dollars will allow us is to add a librarian and educator day to the Comic Arts Festival for the first time. And so we're really excited for you to help us engage on that and promote it, because this is, having those illustrators and content creators and writers come. We're really excited to have a special day that will be devoted just to people who are passionate about helping young writers understand how to use a graphic medium to tell their stories. So we'll follow up with you on that. But again, thank you to the foundation. A couple other things I just want to highlight. We put some links in my director's report about the publicity that was recently about our new mental health coordinator. And just, we're so excited about the significant media attention that we had. We linked to some of those stories that we thought were just really excellent and provided a great overview. But one of the things that's been really gratifying for us is how many organizations have reached out to us now that they know about Ashley joining. And these are organizations that we didn't know had a similar role. So we've actually, she's been extremely busy answering emails from people that want to learn more about how we can work with other organizations. Things about regional transit and some of the health providers in the area. We had a list of that we knew about, but the publicity's really shown one, how much interest there is, but also just how many community resources she's going to be able to tap for us. So I wanted to highlight that for you. And then just a couple things. We're starting to make this publicly, sharing with the public, but we are continue to have some staffing challenges in terms of, summer's a busy time for travel. We also continue to have a global pandemic, so staff have been ill, and right now we have needed to adjust our Saturday hours at Bound Crossing. Bound Crossing and Cole and Ustick are large buildings. To run them takes a full staff, and so right now we have on Saturday it's curbside only for all of July. And we're hiring as quickly as we can, but obviously it is a process to get people hired, onboarded, and make sure that they're comfortable in the role. So when we do need to adjust staffing hours, we do it on our website, we do it through social media, and we do it through signage. But you'll see those reflected in next week's or next month's board meeting, board packet.
On the staffing, do you have any sense of whether we're making progress in getting people, or are we continuing to attrit, or?
We are watching that, and we are definitely having more continued turnover. And there's a lot of, we're no different than other industries that are also seeing that continued turnover. But we are definitely working with HR to try to understand.
Do we need to allocate more dollars to hiring?
that's one of the conversations that we're having about, why are people leaving, and in cases, it's because they're moving, they get new jobs. There's a lot of movement in this community right now. So I think some of it's really out of our control. So, we do exit interviews with everyone to try to understand, why are they leaving? And sometimes it's just, we have a couple key people that leave, especially if a full-time person leaves, that's a bigger gap than if a part-time person.
It's still a citywide problem.
It is a citywide problem, and and I would say we're not the only, I feel like every time I go somewhere, there's a sign on the door that says hours adjusted due to staffing capacity, so we are no different.
Mr. Chair, this is Councilmember Halliburton. I might just jump in there too and kind of and relay that, it certainly is an issue that we're seeing across the city, and the mayor's office and city leadership. We did do some cost of living adjustments that, we hope will help. The challenge that we're seeing right now is that a lot of folks, especially in these sort of middle management positions, have so much availability to get jobs out of town that pays a lot more, but still be able to work in Boise and being able to work remotely. And so it is just an extremely, extremely challenging time. And I think that it's something that really the city has to be looking at a variety of different angles, with the cost of living just jumping up so much in Boise. And so, certainly something we need to be working on here at the library, but something that we're seeing across the board in all of our departments at the city.
Yeah, thank you for jumping in. I realized I should have introduced you earlier, but I appreciate your comments on that. So thank you.
And Councilmember Halliburton did reference that the city recently passed a 5.9% cost of living adjustment. And they actually, it was scheduled to go into effect for FY23, which is October 1st, but they found the funding for it and approved that starting on July 1st. So we are hoping that, that recognition of just things are more expensive and people really do want to work for the city because they believe in the mission and the value of the library and its role in the community. And we're also really grateful for the commitment to stabilizing the workforce and making sure that people are able to work for the city and the library.
That's an interesting perspective of being able to pull down like a big Bay Area salary, but live in Boise.
Yeah, and I guess just one more quick thing so people have it on their radar. We are doing a lot of work with our HR department to have our HR department be working closely with our other departments so that there's some specific people out there helping recruit for specific needs and jobs. And so we're hoping that instead of this kind of larger, big net approach, that we're able to pair some of our HR teams with some of our department team leaders to make sure that we're casting that net, into some very specific audience and just being a little bit more targeted in that approach. And so it's a huge challenge. We're really trying to do things, and I think that the challenges are going to be here for a while longer, but hopefully bit by bit, as we put a little more tools in our toolbox, we're able to address some of those things.
Okay, thank you.
And Brian, you had a question on statistics.
I have a few questions, if it's okay. First, I want to start off by saying thank you for all the hyperlinks in the board meeting materials, particularly the director's report. I think I should thank your staff who helped put these together, but it really makes the materials come to life when we're preparing. I really appreciate it. I noticed a couple of things that I wanted to ask about on ebooks, which are near and dear to my heart. I'm always asking questions about ebooks. I'm still noticing that we're down month on month and year on year, 5 to 7%. And just concerns me. I think the last time we talked about it, you thought there were some things about the collection, but I'm just wanting to ask if there are any other contributing factors that you might be aware of.
I do think that the stagnating collection is part of the issue. We continue to try to buy requests that we get from the public and purchase things that are newly coming out. And that takes up most of the budget that we have. So we don't have as much breadth in that collection as we do in a lot of the other collections. So when people don't find something that they want, it it's not cost effective for us to be able to buy it either, because we pay such a premium price for pretty much every title. So as we're rebuying titles that are going out, so every week, we look to see what is metering out of access. What do people want? What are the holds queues? We try to make sure that we're keeping the wait time down to a manageable level. People do still have enough discretionary funds at this point that if the wait time is too long, they'll just go buy it, or they'll go get a subscription. I don't know how much of that we're seeing with ebooks. E-audio tends to lend itself a little bit more to subscription or Audible, for example. But ebooks, they've been doing more of that as well. So there are a lot more people who are just buying a subscription. It's almost like Apple Music. If you get a subscription to Apple Music, you have access to all these things, right? So digital streaming, that has been such a hard thing that libraries are navigating, and we're watching it closely. That's why we asked for an increase in funds for this coming fiscal year to put more money to that collection, to try to diversify the offerings, bring a little bit more depth to the collection, and see if that helps, or if we're just kind of losing people to an easier option where they can just subscribe to something and go that route. Not positive. I think it's a little of both maybe, but yeah.
Okay, thank you. And then I was looking at the programs participation, and it's encouraging. It seems like we're waking up from COVID and people are coming to programs more. They've turned up, but one thing I noticed was there's very few adult programs other than Hillcrest. And I remember from my visit to all the branches with Jessica, that Hillcrest is a little unique in that they have an elderly community proximate to the branch. But I was wondering, is there something that's preventing us from offering adult programs in other branches? Tough to get the audience, or they won't come because it's still COVID, or I'm just wondering what the reason was.
I can speak to that. So part of it is a product of we've been trying to be very pragmatic about rolling programs back out, looking at staff capacity, looking at people's willingness to come back into buildings. Doing children's programs in the park, that's a pretty easy grab because you don't have safety restrictions, you don't have space restrictions. We have staff who have been trained and can do that. With bringing on new staff, we're doing a lot of training on how to do programs in general. I would say that probably doesn't fully reflect all of the engagement we have with adults right now. For instance, there's a knitting group that started at Mountain Crossing when they opened that have continued to meet on their own, and they're just their own group now. That's regularly 15 to 30 people every week there engaged with each other in library materials. July 15th is our deadline for staff to submit programs for our fall calendar. So you'll see that coming out later in August, and you'll see a bump in the variety of programs and the number of them.
Okay, thank you.
And I would just add that also, we always have a summer bump. I mean, that's deliberate in the summer because of summer reading. We really do focus on youth programming during the summer, in addition to the pieces that Sarah laid out about capacity and bringing on, bringing back programs.
And the last question was a note, a link that you had attached in an email about the strategic plan being posted on the website. Some description of the strategic plan being posted on the website. And there were a few terms in capitals that I didn't understand. Half gig, creative bug, and personal shopper. And I wondered if anybody could help me understand what those are.
Half Gig was a program that spun up local musicians to record and share out. Creative Bug is a database that you work on arts and crafts. And what was the last one?
Personal shopper.
That's our program where people submit things they're interested in reading or viewing, and a staff member pulls that together and then provides that for the library user.
Okay.
So is that like a collection of books on a topic or something like that?
Yep, they can request what they're interested in, and then it's curated and pulled, and they can choose which things they want to read or not. Yeah.
It's also called personalized picks. I think we're using that term more frequently. And it is, you can we could check them out to you, put them in a bin, you can pick them out, or you could look at the list and select the ones you want.
I actually have a follow-up question on the stats related to the e-magazines. It could be that I wasn't paying very close attention, but it seemed like about a year and a half ago, the number of magazines increased dramatically. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, we,
And, okay, so
Through a series
and
of
my
buyouts.
question was that a result of where the vendor just said, okay, we're gonna put everything online, or did we purchase additional content to achieve that?
was a little bit of both. So there was a buyout. We used to get our magazines through Zinio, then it became RB Digital, and then Overdrive now is who hosts them. So those two different buyouts over the time. When it went from Zinio to RB Digital expanded the offerings and made it, because before we were paying per title. And then we basically went to a subscription where we paid a lot more money for a lot greater access of titles. So that's when it bumped up. And then when it moved to the Overdrive, they stayed with that model.
And when the collection expanded like that, did the usage go up?
Marginally. It took a while, especially when we moved from RB Digital to Overdrive. RB Digital had an automatic checkout process. So if you had already had something, you could click a box and say, yes, I want to get it every month. That sort of inflated the statistics a bit. What we're seeing now is that in Overdrive, you have to go out and get the next issue of whatever it is, but we're seeing a lot more engagement with them in a meaningful way. So we are seeing the statistics climb back up. It's still fairly, it still tends to be the same titles as kind of before when we were selecting them.
Right.
They say that, it's like a 3,700 item collection or title collection, but a lot of them are not things that most people want.
Right.
Not all of them are in English, which is great to offer some different things, but they're not going to drive usage like some of the other high interest titles.
So given the subscription model, then is our cost independent of the checkout rate?
Yes.
So it doesn't matter. I mean, if I check out one title or if I check out 20, it's the same cost,
Yes,
but that's just for magazines.
just
right?
for magazines.
Okay. So we could promote the heck out of that and not have any more costs.
Yep.
If we chose to. Okay.
And it was interesting because we actually were one of the early drivers of saying, you need to call these magazines out. When Overdrive brought them into the collection, there wasn't a way to find them easily. And we said, we need a tab. We need people to be able to see them. They're going to expect this. So anything we can do to drive things that we've already paid for is amazing.
And is
Okay.
Libby the reader for magazine?
Libby is Overdrive's overarching app, and you can access magazines there. They don't act differently than others, than the books or the audiobooks. You still check it out and engage with it the same way.
You don't need a separate reader.
No.
Great. So thanks for the discussion. Anything else? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Halliburton. So now we move on to old business. And
I don't know how to film it.
well, that's what the script said. I'm sorry. So just for the new members, we review a few of the policies every month so that we just stay on top of it. I think we're legally required to review them once a year.
Yeah.
So this is part of our mandated duties.
And you're almost done. Next month, you will have reviewed everything for the year. So congratulations. So we're looking at section 6.0, gifts and bequests, as well as section 7.0, use of meeting rooms. And one note for new board members, policy does need to be voted on and approved by the board if we make changes. Regulations, you do not, but we share with you what we're doing so you know how we're running things. In this case, the only piece we're asking for a change on is for section 7.0, use of meeting rooms. This is similar to a few months ago when we looked at collection development. We have the ALA Bill of Rights as an exhibit related to it. And looking back at their website, we realized they had updated some dates, so we wanted to make sure we were consistent. So that is the change request you see in policy 7.01 on meeting rooms, changing the date from January 23rd, 1980 to January 29th, 2019. But having said all that, does anyone have any questions about any of the policies or regulations in this packet?
I actually had one about the meeting rooms.
Sure.
All meetings held in library meeting rooms must be open to the public.
Yes.
So we have these kind of individual rooms over here that you can sign up for,
The study room.
the study room.
So we treat those differently. That's truly a space for someone to sit and.
That's a study room,
It's a
not a
study
meeting.
room. Yep.
Okay, I was curious.
Yeah, oh, it's a great question.
I just wondered if I could go listen to people's phone calls.
Maybe you get to do some conduct.
That was my only question. So I think we need a motion to approve the change. Do we have a motion to approve the change to the policies?
I would move to approve the change to section 7.00 use of meeting rooms.
I second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Thank you. That's approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is the topic of the strategic planning process.
Thank you. So for the new board members, my name is Heidi Lewis. I'm the main library manager and the project manager for the strategic plan. So as always, thank you for letting me join you today to provide this briefing about the strategic plan to let you know where we've been, where we're at, and where we're going. Our agenda today, I'm going to give you a project overview, talk about the high level phase 1 schedule review, steering committee update, board involvement discussion, community listening sessions, and then next steps. So for our project overview, this will not be new to some of you, but will be new to some of you. So I wanted to go into it a little bit more in depth this time. It's also great timing because we're just about to really launch into our community engagement. So recentering on why we're doing this and how we're doing this feels really good. So really, we are turning to community members to understand their needs and desires for library programs and services. We are listening first. So that's what this phase 1 of the strategic plan is all about. I'll go into a little more detail later about phase 1 and phase 2, but we are listening first. So much has changed with how libraries are changing, the role of libraries, and even how our community is changing, of course, with growth, pandemic, all of that. So our outcome goals finally for this project is a library system that is outwardly focused on making a positive impact for the community we serve. And then our process goal, and again, this is where we're really at in phase 1, is that every member of the community and every Boise Public Library staff member will know how to engage in the discussion and how to provide input. So I wanted to give us that recentering of what we're doing and why we're doing it. So getting into those phase 1 and phase 2 pieces. So this phase 1 is establishing the baseline. Where are we at right now? What is the library doing? Where's the community at? Where are the community needs? What are we seeing right now? Another really important part and a really exciting part is where does the community want us to be? Where do they want to be? And how can we help them get there? And where does staff think we need to be? So we're really in phase 1, talking about where we're at right now and where we want to be in the future. And we're doing that through a number of ways, which we'll talk about a little bit more in the next slide. But the other piece of then is we're moving through phase 1, we're working on that, and at a later date, we'll move into phase 2 and then into implementation. But we are very solidly in phase 1 right now. And then we'll talk a little bit of our phase 1 schedule. So this is all of phase 1 mapped out. You'll see that we had some months getting ready, and then we're right in the middle of engagement. We've completed the staff survey and the listening sessions part of the engagement. And we've begun some of the partner engagement that was even interview with the mayor, with council members, and with a number of city departments, with the Friends. Jill, it was so great to hear that you had a good experience with the interview with Susan. So that piece has already begun and will continue throughout the rest of the summer. And then we're really excited that we'll be having a survey and then community listening sessions starting very soon. In addition, we have additional work. We're collecting a lot of data. We are comparing ourselves to other library systems. We are looking at where we fit in with the community. So all of that is going to come together in the phase 1 summary. The phase 1 summary is going to be, here's what we heard, here's what we're seeing, here's all the information we've gathered to really inform when we actually start to write the strategic plan and set our focused priorities. And you can see that we're here on our board meeting. I give a briefing at every board meeting. And then the steering committee has met. We didn't meet in June and we won't meet, or excuse me, in May, and we won't meet in July, but we've met some other times.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
I think last time on the peer review, at least I had the impression that you were still kind of narrowing down who the peers would be.
Mm-hmm.
Has that been settled?
Yes, that was actually some of the work that we did in the steering committee meeting last month. And yeah, we were able to.
Okay.
Yes, unfortunately, sorry about that. So that was a big part of what we did. We really talked about what we had heard from the staff responses so far. We thought that would be a good way to talk about, here are some of the things that we may be seeing with the community. Here's what we're doing so far. At the time, we had not, the survey hadn't closed yet for staff, and we hadn't completed all the staff listening sessions. So it really was just a preview. That was part of what we talked about. And then the other piece was really talking through peer benchmarking. So we have finalized those lists, and the organizational excellence group just met yesterday. And they're divvying up the different libraries where they're going to be reviewing the statistics. And then Susan is moving forward with 5 of the libraries. We'll be working with Jessica, sending special invitations to 5 libraries that will be going into in-depth interviews with on a variety of topics, which is really exciting. So yeah, that was a lot of the work that we did last month. And then in August, when we meet with the steering committee, we're skipping July because so much of the community engagement is happening this month. But we'll be meeting again in August, where we will review the community engagement efforts to date and identify if there are any gaps to address over the remaining effort. So very briefly, I wanted to share about the staff survey and listening sessions. So we used the engagement with the staff first, and part of it was we really wanted to make sure that staff felt like they understood what the process was, why they were doing it, and had some experience with taking a survey and participating in a listening session so that they felt better prepared to answer questions about it and to help promote the community versions of the survey in the listening sessions. And part of what we're going after with the strategic plan is to make sure our organization has the capacity to fulfill what the community needs and asks of us. And so it was really important to go to staff, and we have a number of questions about our organization right now and our hopes for the organization's future. It was really exciting. So we had 78% of staff completed the staff survey. That was 104 staff members. Our goal was 100. So we were really excited that we exceeded our goal there. And then 51% of staff were able to participate in staff listening sessions. We try to give them at a variety of times and a variety of ways, but that is also what we expect to see with the community, that we'll have many more people in the community participating in the survey. It's a shorter amount of time. You really can freely express everything you want to express, where in a staff listening session, it's a much bigger commitment, both in time and in participation. So it didn't surprise us that we saw more participation with the survey than the listening sessions. The listening sessions were, we did one as a supervisor group, so I can only speak to that, but the thing I'm most excited about is this Friday, an all staff meeting, we'll be reporting back to staff about the high level theme. So what we heard, our BERT consulting group is preparing a presentation for us to be able to share back with staff this Friday. In the survey and the listening sessions, we talked with staff about mission, values, and vision, community reflection, current perceptions and library experiences, as I talked about that organizational excellence piece. So now we're here with Board of Trustees involvement. So we've been showing this slide every briefing so far, and I'll start at the top, one-on-ones with the Burt Consulting Group. Everyone participated as individuals. So all the previous board members had a chance to have a one-on-one interview with Burt Consulting, and we'd love to offer that to the 2 new board members. So we'll be reaching out to you to schedule those at your convenience, whether it's this month or next month, but just know that we are excited to reach out to you and have you go through that same experience. It will be with Luis Herrera that the mayor got to interview with. So we know that it'll be a great experience.
Thank you for redoing it with our new members.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. And that was a suggestion from the board members from last month. So thank you for that suggestion. And then, of course, these board briefings that we're doing each month. Phil is our steering committee member from the board, and I'll let him talk about it if you want to talk about it now or later.
Go ahead.
Okay, sounds good. And then this next piece is the community listening sessions piece. So we'll talk about that a little bit more in the next slide. And just really quickly, the phase 1 summary, that again, we're looking at September, October is when we'll come back to you with that phase 1 summary that we'll discuss. We haven't set a date yet for that, but we'll get to that soon. And then the other pieces will be actually drafting the plan itself and then reviewing it and adopting the plan. So with the community listening sessions, they're starting in July and ending in August. We've got 7 different sessions so far that are scheduled, 5 in person and 2 virtual, 1 at every location. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in the next section, but we're thinking about approximately 80 minutes for these. So we'll schedule them for 90 minutes, plan for 75 minutes. That will be the actual presentation and discussion itself. And then have 15 minutes where staff will stay around. It'd be great if board members could stay around too. If people have additional questions or have something they want to share that they didn't feel like they could share with the whole group. They are going to be staff led. We're having training for the facilitators tomorrow afternoon, and it will be recorded. So if not everyone can make it, they'll have a chance. So we are hoping to have a board member at each session so that you have the opportunity where you're not just seeing the high level themes and an overview, but you're actually getting to hear directly from the community and even interact with the community in those sessions. And we've got 3 sections for the discussions in the community listening sessions: the current library experience, envisioning the future, and community reflection. So the dates for those, we've got them here. I know Jessica has shared them with you so that, and we really appreciate the responses so far of what dates you're available for, and we'll continue working with you to finalize the dates for these. But we're really excited to be able to share these with the public very soon, where they can start signing up and start participating. And then finally, we've got our next steps. So you're the first to hear it, but our plan is that the community survey will open tomorrow. It is currently being translated into Spanish, and we are getting everything finalized with it. And so we'll be sending you invitations personally to the survey tomorrow. We love that you've been able to share your opinions and perspectives in the interviews, and we're really excited to hear all of your thoughts. We won't know that they're your thoughts, but we really hope that you are able to participate in the survey as well as share it with anyone you think of that you want to make sure takes that survey. We have our first community tabling event this Friday at the Bound Crossing Block Party, where we'll be having laptops set up for people to start taking the survey and be able to start answering questions for people and talking to people that way about it. And then our first community listening session is next Wednesday at Hillcrest. And then we'll be back in August to talk to y'all about our community engagement efforts to date and how things are going with the survey and how things have gone with the listening sessions. Are there any questions I can answer?
Well, then I'm looking forward to the listening session.
Yeah, we are too.
We'll have for you again FAQ. Your role really will be to be listening with us, and as Heidi mentioned, it'll be staff led. So don't, especially Rebecca and Natasha, don't feel that you have to be answering questions. We'll make sure that you've got staff people there to if questions come up about how do I review a book or something, you will not need to speak to that. We really do want to have you with us and being able to listen and then being able to come back and share experiences as you have some of these discussions going forward.
So, yeah, I've been participating in the steering committee, and I'll be very honest, this is the first time I've been part of what I would call a public service board. Most of my experience comes from the business community, and they have a very different vision of what a board member is. So everything I say is really just a theory. But, working on projects like this, you quickly find out that the library staff is incredibly capable. And so they do an excellent job of running things. And I think our contribution and our role is really to bring in kind of the 10,000 foot perspective or the broad perspective, and in some cases, maybe be devil's advocate a little bit of like, well, have you thought about this or have you thought about that? And the other thing is too is I think the community, one big learning for me has always been how diverse the community is that the library serves. And so it's kind of complicated. But I think that the steering committee, has done a great job structuring the discussion and figuring out, what the pieces are that do need to be run through to be effective at this. And I think, having the consultants that have been through it before, I assume has been a large assistance. They seem very capable. So I think there've been a couple of little tweaks where we've been able to adjust things, a little bit just to make sure we're as inclusive as possible, namely. But I think the process is running really well, and the staff has got their hands full, but doing an excellent job of managing the progress. So I think it's on track.
That's a good question. How frequently do you do strategic planning? Is it based on need? Do you have like a sort of schedule every 3 to 5 years or something like that? How frequently do you all do this?
That's a great question. So I can share that our most recent strategic plan was a 5-year plan, and it was from 2015 to 2019. So our most recent one expired, and we've had different efforts years past. I don't know that there is a set, we're going to do it every so often, just we will always have one. And I think that's looked different over the years, and there's been a different process. So the part of it is that we're doing this in a new way for us, for the organization, to really work with a consulting firm and to take a new approach where we're trying to very proactively involve staff and the community. I don't think that was done to this level for the previous strategic plan.
I would just comment too, to share, I shared a bit with Jessica. As part of a health system, we do large scale community needs assessments every 3 years. This is the first year we are doing it in partnership. St. Luke's, St. Al's, Intermountain Salzer, as well as both of the health departments are doing it. We're doing it across 16 counties, but the data will be identifiable per county. We're doing it kind of at the same time that you are. We're doing all of our qualitative data collection right now. So surveys, focus groups, key informant interviews across each of those regions. It's a much broader data collection set, and really we're looking at not just health needs. So when people think hospitals, they think I'm asking about chronic diseases. Not, I'm asking about housing, childcare, cost of living, wages. It gives us a lot of information about the broader needs of each community and how they differ by region. And one thing I shared with Jessica is that we are actually putting all of this data for the first time onto an online data platform that will be available publicly for folks to search, hopefully by census tract and zip code, as much as data is available and we're able to collect it to that level, but definitely within city and county levels. and would love to partner and share that broader level information, because I think that paired with this community specific about how can the library meet that need. I think those two things would give you a lot of really powerful information. And I know we've relied on libraries heavily in the past to do our survey work and hosting focus groups and things like that. So just offer that we also do similar but slightly larger types of assessment processes that I think could lend some valuable information to some of the work that you all are doing. So just wanted to kind of raise awareness that that's happening from the health and the social service sector as well. But we're always very open to partnering and very openly sharing the data that we collect about what the needs rising out of the community are happening at a kind of the bigger picture level.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you.
So Heidi, I had a quick question. We talked a lot about making sure we're getting input from communities that don't necessarily use the library as much as they could. Can you talk about, has that been part of the discussion of how to reach those people with the survey and the listening sessions?
That's a great question. So that is something we are actively working with our community partners work group. So with one of the things I didn't share is with our strategic plan process, another way is we have staff involved in different work groups. So we have a community engagement work group, a community partners work group, an organizational excellence work group, and a library experience work group. The community partners work group is working on, that was some of the work from the steering committee a couple of months ago, was looking at different stakeholders, and for the low user or potential user stakeholder type, we came up with 7 different topics of user areas in the community that we really want to make sure we're addressing people and these demographics or with these needs or on these topics. And so we're really working through making sure that we're reaching out to those community organizations in different ways. So that will be a lot of our work over the next 2 months as well. That's a great question.
And then one other quick question. I have gotten some feedback from community members just by virtue of being a board member. So what's the best way? How do you want us to share that if we get bits and pieces here and there? So what's the most kind of efficient way to get that information?
That is wonderful. We actually have we have our new website for the strategic plan. And on the bottom of that, there is a BPL strategic at cityofboise.org email address. So if it's convenient for you to email it, we would be happy for any comments, questions, suggestions to that email address.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we are looking, one of the other things we'll be doing is some passive activities at the libraries and offsite as well, and at some of these tabling events. And so that's additional data that we'll be collecting. So yeah, anything you're hearing, we'll have ways to get that into the larger information.
Great.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, any more on this?
Do you wanna, Councilmember Halliburton, you're also on our steering committee, and we're really excited about the role that you're playing connecting to other parts of the city. And I was just wondering, would you be willing to say a little bit about that for Rebecca and Natasha's knowledge?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's exciting, I think, for me to be on the council liaison from a council perspective, but it's also really exciting to be on here from a nonprofit perspective as well, because we've had the opportunity over at the Boise Bicycle Project to collaborate on all sorts of different things and really serve really work with a lot of the underserved communities. And so I'm committed to being really active through this process and making sure that we are kind of looking at these different groups and making sure that, you know, everybody is represented. And fortunately, I think for the city of Boise, our library staff is just so tremendously committed to doing the same thing. And so it's been really fun to be part of that process. These outreach opportunities, I think, are going to be really key for us to be there and to be listening to people as well and to see what they have to say and make sure that we're kind of hearing the same thing. As well as making sure that we're doing our role in getting people to these events. And I think that that's another area where myself as a council member and us as board members and trustees can make sure that we get as many folks here and leveraging our own personal contacts, organizations that we work with to make sure that they're well attended and that those the people who are using the library and potentially have barriers from using the library are really, really well represented. Is that kind of what you were looking for, Jess?
Thank you. Yes, perfect.
Okay. So thanks everybody for that. And Heidi, thanks for the update. Appreciate it. Next up, we have a discussion about a memorandum of understanding with the Friends.
Yeah.
I guess his introduction, I think this is driven by, in some part, by the city and the library working on agreements with different people that use the facilities, and the Friends are definitely part of that.
Yeah, so Jill, I hope you're still with us, because I assume you'll have some questions that I'll need your help with. And this is a pretty standard, I've learned, the discussions actually with the Friends predate the city doing work last year to do consistent leases with the nonprofits, which use city property. The Friends and the library had discussions about the relationship between the two organizations. And they're, last year, the Board of Trustees approved leases for Step Ahead Idaho and Learning Lab, which are organizations that, in one case sublease or housed in the library with an aligned mission. And it's really clear that the relationship with the Friends, because they are, really their mission is to raise funds for the library, needed a different relationship and a different way of clarifying the, what support we provide to the Friends, what support the Friends provide to us, how we work together going forward. And so there's been a lot of work that really predates both me and Jill. But we're the people that are committed to seeing this, to have it finalized, and really wanted, created a memorandum of understanding that really focuses on that ongoing relationship and really wanting to clarify, part of it is really just we make sure that we've got touch points and ongoing discussions, and the process for making sure that we are constantly, having the opportunity to talk about strategy, to talk about facilities, to talk about how we are working collaboratively. And so we've brought this MOU to you to look at, because the next step is that Jill will take it to the Friends for them to vote on and finalize. And once they sign it, then it would come to it would come back to the board to be approved and signed, and then it would go to city council. So you wanted to make sure that everybody had gotten a chance to see what we think is a very solid draft. And obviously, Carrie sent you last night the revised draft. There's been a lot of versions of this over time. But the one that you got last night is the one that we think really does serve us well going forward. Jill, do you have anything to add to that?
Not really, no. This, as you correctly pointed out, this is a process that has been going on for many, many years. And I just want to thank you, Jessica, and also Sarah, Kelly Chase along the way for just having a few stop and pause moments where we've actually evaluated what it is we were trying to achieve. And the Friends Board is very pleased with this current iteration. And if there's anything else that I can answer or help with, I'm here to do that.
I thought the agreement was very clear. I read the first version yesterday and was wondering, what about the costs that the Friends had to incur? And then they got the second version and it was addressed. So I'm pleased to see that change made.
Yep.
I could probably just also jump in here and say that this MOU is not identical to, but is heavily based on a model MOU that the American Library Association provides. So we are, the base document was very much one that has been vetted by a lot of different library systems and served as a great jumping off point to get us with the specificity we needed to our agreement, but that we didn't also just make up out of whole cloth.
Any questions? Anything else? Looks good.
Great, so Jill, you can take that, you've got your next board meeting coming up and then
Tomorrow.
you'll see it again and it'll have a signature on it, but we we will have to figure out. The one thing on this draft, it does still have time yet, so we will we will need to change that as well.
Okay, thank you both, everybody, for putting that together. I think that completes the main part of the meeting. So every month we appoint a trustee to review the payment vouchers as they come in, and I guess next month it's me. I guess I have to ask myself. Okay, we're good with that. The next meeting date is planned for Wednesday, August 10th, same time. Are there any known conflicts with that? Okay, I think we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
I second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks for everybody who made the meeting today, online and in person. It's good to see you. Thank you very much.
Keep up the good work, everyone.